Okay, so in this session, we're going to be putting together the appointment booking form. So you've got the guide available, and I'm just going to show you. This is going to be a video walkthrough of how to go about it. Yes, you've got the guide that tells you what code goes where, but this video will show you step by step. Of course, I'll summarize some parts because I've covered them already. So I'm just going to be showing you as much as possible what you need to do to put together your appointment booking form. So first things first, you head on to this is a finished work on Visual Studio, and this is the back end with all the code. So we'll be walking through that together. So first things you want to do is you want to start with a new project. Of course, you start with new project, and you'll be presented with Windows Forms app option. If you haven't already, you should change this to Visual Studio, and you choose the one that has Visual Basic in it. That's Windows Forms app.NET Framework with Visual Basic. Then when you say next, you put the name of your project there. You can say vet system, whatever you want to name it, you name it, you give it your any name, and you can save it anywhere you want to, or you just leave the default location. So I already have my form created in the back. So when you're done, you click on create. Okay, you click on create, and this is what comes up. So to start off with, you need your toolbox. That's the major thing you need, where you so that you get your tools together. So real quickly, let's jump into the guide and let's look at what tools we need. Let's start with the menu. You can start with whatever one you want to, but I'll start with the labels. So we'll come over here to toolbox, and you click on label. Type label, sorry. So you type label. What I'm going to do is, since I'm going to give it a title, I'll make that different. So I'll come over to the menu, the properties in the bottom right. Now take note, if you don't click on the item, you will not see the properties on the right. So whatever is active is what will be shown here. Whatever property is active, you use this to arrange in alphabetical order. So I normally prefer to do this just so that when I'm searching for something, it's easy to find in a particular order. You're not using this for now. You're going to use events in this design, but I'll show you when we get there. So you just need this and this. Okay, properties is already checked, so don't tamper with that. So when you click on the label, you'll notice that it has the caption, the name of the item you clicked on. If you click on this, you see it's telling you form 1. That's the name of the form. You don't need to change it. So go to the label. What you need to change is the text, not the name. You go to the text and you change the text. Do not go to the name and change. You will find that the name and the text is the same thing. So don't change the name, change the text. When I need you to change the name, I will let you know. So for this one, it's appointment bookings. So I'll just correct that. Okay, so you can see you have appointment booking form, and I want to change the style of the font. So you go over to font, still with that tool selected. This is still selected. You go to font, and on font you click on the box just on the right. I'll change the font style. I'll make it bold, and I'll make it bigger. I'll make it about 24 and say okay. I'm satisfied with this size, so I can move on to the other items. So you can see you've got about 7 labels there. So I'm just going to, you can just simply go to toolbox and bring out another label and use again from scratch, or you can just simply click on this one, hold the control key button and drag it down. So you resize this. So I'll modify this because obviously I want it to be different from the label or the caption. So you go to text. The first thing that you have there on the item is full name. So I'll type full name, and I'll change the size. So as you can see, the text I changed the text. You can see I clicked on the form and it changed to form 1, and I was sure I just changed full name. So obviously it means that you clicked on something else. So click on the item and go back and check the properties. So now I'll go back to fonts and I'll change the size. That's all. I'm using the same font style. I'll just change the size, making it visible enough, because I'm still going to add pop-up effect on it to help, or you can add magnifier. It's all up to you. Okay, so with the full name done, the first thing you want to do before you go ahead and replicate this, because for the other labels, what I want to do is I want to simply just replicate this one. That's make more copies of this and I'll modify it. But I want to be sure that the color I'm going to use for my background is either I'm using this one, which is fine, the contrast is fine. Otherwise, if you want to change the background color, so you click on the form and go to back color, look for back color. That's on the letter B. Under control, you just choose whatever option you want. Under web custom, you see you have different colors. You can change whatever color you deem fit. So I will just use I'll use crimson. And what I'm going to do is, because the contrast isn't good with black, I'm going to change that. Remember we did luminance contrast, so I'll click on the text and I'll change it to white. So it's black, as you can see, 4 color. I'll just change that to button highlight. Anything lighter, you can use yellow, it's up to you. These are the parts of the design that are very flexible, and you can make it look as beautiful, as interesting as you want. Same thing, control text for the full name. I'll just change that to first of all, let me see what it will look like if I give it yellow. Okay, so I want the label to stand out from the heading itself, so I'll leave it as yellow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply click on this and hold the control button down and make copies of it. So if I'm satisfied with the spacing, I'll do the same thing for the next one. So I have 3 here now, so all I'm doing is simply clicking and dragging, and remember 7 I need, so I will just click and drag this and just drag it down. So I've got 6, I've got 1 more. Hold the control button down, click and drag. Okay, so let's start with the first one. The first one, it's full name, so you don't need to change it. So if you look at your guide, you have name of pet, type of pet. So with this, you go to text. Remember, it's the text you're changing. So it's name of pet. Type of pet. So I'll pause this and I'm repeating the same thing anyways, so I'll pause it and you just check what you need to do: date of birth, date of appointment, time of appointment, and comments. So I'll just pause and do that real quickly. So as you can see, I have changed all of the titles as the labels there, comments and the rest. So whenever you're clicking on your items, you could accidentally double click and it brings you to the code page. No need to be alarmed. You just need to click on the design here, the design page here, and remember to always save your work, because it could crash and you could lose your work. So the next thing you will do from the guide, as you can see, you need text boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4 text boxes. So that's all you need to do next. So you just look for text box. When you type text, you'll see text box coming up. So what I would like to do is make sure I get 1 correct so that I can just resize the remaining. So I'm looking at the space in between them. Okay, so you can click on the black arrow just above it and choose multi-line so that you can resize it. So I'm just going to give it a decent size, and also just all these things are just approximate sizes and distances. Of course, for some people you want to you may want to look at size and from the properties option here, but I'm just simply eyeballing it. I'm just using my discretion, and you're free to do the same. So for full name, I'll just extend that and move it a little bit to this side. Then I'll hold the control key down and drag, control and drag. So I'll just give it a little bit of space so that it looks using the concept of common grouping and similarities, and that's what we're using. That's the principle here, because they're similar in color and they're arranged together. They seem to belong to the same group. Of course, it's obvious. So the same thing applies to the boxes. Similarity in terms of their sizes, so they seem to be grouped together, so you know that it's a part of the form. And the last one is the comments. That's a text box, so I'm just going to make that bigger because the person will be required to type in or input more text. Okay, so as soon as you're done with that, we're done with the text boxes for now. Go back to your manual, and the next things you need are date and time picker. You need 2 of that, and you need a max text box. So jump back in, date and time picker. So just type date and it comes up. So I'll just click, drop it there. So for this one, simply just make it the same length. I'm not going to make it wider. You could resize it to any size you want. So I'll just click, control and drag, so that because it's date. So this tool here just simply has a calendar, a drop down calendar where you can choose dates. So for time of appointment, what we're going to use is called a mass text box, and you'll see why it's called a mass text box. So you double click, or you just click and drag. So I'll make it the same size so that they're in the same group. So you click on the black arrow there and you see set mask, and I'm going to choose time US because of this format. If you want to choose that format, it's fine. It's all good. You could choose this, you could choose this one. So I'll choose this one and I'll say OK. So you've got this format. So I'm done with the first bit of my form. So you jump back into your guide and look for what next, and that is the buttons. So we need the buttons. We need 4 buttons on our form. So what's going to happen, you go to your toolbox again and you search for buttons. Just click and drag, and for this one you've got control buttons already to help you resize the button. So remember Fitts law, it's easier to hit a target that is bigger and closer to you than one that is further, smaller and further away from you. So that's another principle that's being applied here. So we're making this big and we're going to put a caption on it, and this will be post button. Now you could position this anywhere you want to. It could be here, it could be here if you want. It's up to you. So I'm just going to caption this as post. I'm just going to use the same thing, but you can change that to anything you want to, like submit or print. Not print, there's a different print function, so don't put print. So for post here, I'm going to go to the font option, go under the font option, and I'll change the font so that it's the same as the ones we're using, and I'll make it bold as well, and 14. Let's see what that looks like, and that's what you've got. Now of course the color is off, so I'm just going to look for a color that matches with this. So let's see, let's go to back color, letter B. So this is obviously the back color of this crimson color is showing us here is obviously this one. What I want is now with buttons you can choose background images. You could make them you could have different options. So let's see how that would work. With background image, you'd first of all have to import it. So you have to go to wherever it is you have your stock pictures and icons. So I'm just going to use something I have here from previous designs, and let's see what I can use as an example. Just got a small icon, and let's see how that works. So you can see how it's looking there. It's just to show you options of how you can change your button style. So flat appearance, I'll make that. I want to remove the borders. I don't want to have a border there. Let's see if I put 0. When the mouse is clicked, you can change the color. When the button is clicked, the color, it could just change. I'll just make it yellow when it's a mouse over back color. So when your mouse is over it, you could choose a color that shows. So maybe I'll choose, let's choose something just to highlight that. Maybe I'll just make it, because I'm thinking of the font, the color of the font I'm going to use. Okay, so I've done that. The style now, the image style. Image, I want the image to be on the left. I don't want it to replicate. So I'm checking to see the options you have. The text align. I want the text to be on the right, and I don't want the image. So I don't want image the way you see it there. I want image before the text. That's what I want. Okay, so this is why you are seeing 3 different colors for the image. Sorry, 3 different versions that is replicated for the image. So it has background image layout. So what I want is none. I don't want it tiled, so you can see what it looks like. So you see, if you play around with these options, you'll find if you say center, it comes closer. If you say none, you just basically have one image, and that's what I want. Flat appearance, yes, I said I wanted flat appearance. So when I move it, so this is what it looks like now. I could leave it this way, or I could decide to, sorry, I double clicked and that's why it's showing this. Like I said, you can play around with your buttons and make it even more attractive. What I'm looking at is changing the style. So on the flat appearance, so let's see, flat style, let's use, so with pop-up, I used pop-up. I don't know what it's going to do when I try and change it, but you can see it has a border around it. So I'm just showing you different ways you can play around with your buttons. Flat style, let's see another option. If you say just flat, if you say flat, it takes out the border, but I want the font to stand out. But let's see, when we run this, what does it look like? Let's see what it looks like. So remember, we changed the hover style, when you put your mouse over it. So you can see when you put your mouse over it, it pops up. It basically gives you a different color. You can change that color. So when it's clicked, you can see changes to yellow to show that it's being clicked. So this is just a few ways you can play around with this. Of course, you can change the color of your font, which I will do right now, just so it matches with what we have already. So you go to font, make sure this is selected. So go to the 4 color. So under 4 color, I'm going to make that yellow. So go to custom and just use the default so that it matches with the other ones. Of course, it will make sense to have that icon the same color as well. So this is just one option to play around with. Of course, I need 3 other buttons. So with 3 other buttons, what I'll just simply do is click on this, hold the control button down, drag 1, 2, and 3. Now Of course, as you can see, I need more space, so I'm just going to stretch my form, make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to change all of these. First of all, I'll change the captions on them: add, remove, and exit. So for this one, make sure you're just changing the text. Add, remove, and exit. If you want to change the images for each of these icons, you can always change them from here. You just simply go to where the image option is. So you've got the background option. You see where you have background image, you click on it, and if you don't want to, click on none and you say okay. Or you just simply import and replace it with something else. So something that is smaller. So like this one here, I have a close button icon that I could use for the exit one. So I'll close this and just, okay, I'm on the exit one, so it's fine. I thought I was on another button. So what I'll simply do is import, and I could choose the X or this one. I'll choose this one. Open. Let's see how that pans out. Okay, so I'm fine with this. If you want to change the spacing between the icon, the image itself, and the exit button, of course you could do that. So the image alignment, you could change that to center and see how that pans out. Okay, this hasn't changed. Click on it again. Or you could just simply go to the fonts option and change the location. So what you have here, text align. If I have it as center, so you can see it's closer now. So that's much better, looks much better to the eye. So I'll do that. So click on the button and text align. I'll choose the middle option. Okay, so I've got 3. I'll do the same thing for the post button. Of course, ideally you should have done that earlier, but it's a matter of what you think is best. So sometimes you may do something that appears to be okay, but you may want to change that later. Okay, so you can see our interface. You can test run that. Remember to always save your work. So let's test run and look at what it looks like. So this is what it looks like when you put the button over it. Now you can see that's why it's good to test. The buttons, of course, is looking as if it's sitting on the icon, the images, where I don't have a problem with that because it still stands out, so I can still leave it there this way. But you could still change it, make it, put it back the way it was so that there's space between them. It's up to you. Now this highlight button, the highlight option, you may want to change it because of the contrast. It doesn't give good contrast for the buttons. This was not included. This modification of buttons was not included in your guide. It's just an extra thing I'm using. I'm just showing you just to help with the design. So if let's see the mouse options there. Okay, so what you need to do is go to flat appearance. Under flat appearance, mouse over back color, sorry. You click on that and you change it to something else that you feel will be much better. So what I think is I want something that matches with the full with the background. So I'll make it Firebrick and see if that works. So if Firebrick works fine with good contrast, then that should be fine. So Firebrick, I could just make it black or white or something else, but you can see that doesn't take. I'll just give it bright red. Again, this is a matter of preference. You don't have to do this. Okay, it's red. That's fine. I'll just leave it. at that. So you can apply that for all of them. Let me just check. A quick way of just changing that is to click all the buttons and simply go on that property, the flat style option, and change, sorry, the plus there, and change the option. So I'm just going to leave it as dark gray and just leave it. So we're done with that for now. Okay, so save your work, go over to your guide, tab controls. So what you have here is you have two tab controls, and you've got here list view. So you start with tab control. So go over to your toolbox and choose tab control. So I've just selected that, and I'll just click and drag that here. So with this, you can see it gives you two tabs already on default. So if you look at your guide tells you what to do in setting up your interface. So you can see tab control here. It says place the list view in the first tab. Anyways, with your tab control, you've got the two tabs. So inside the second tab should be titled appointment. So you have records and appointment. So what you're going to do is you click on this button, the black button here, and you can edit. So when you say add tab, you don't need to use this because of course it's going to ask you to add an extra tab, and all you need is two tabs. To edit the tabs, you come over to the properties pane and you choose the appropriate option here. So you see where you've got tab pages. You click on the three buttons there and it comes up, this window comes up here. On that button, when you click on it, you will see the properties here. So the text is what you want to change. So you change, like it says here, to change one to records and one to appointment. So this will be records, and the other one will be, as you can see in the background, it's changing. The next one will be appointment. So let's look to be sure. Yeah, just appointment. So we're done with that. If you want to change back colors, you want to change background images there, you can do that. Border style, you could have a border style to it. You don't have to do that. The colors, you can play around with colors as well. Foreground color, fonts. With fonts, I want the fonts to match, so I'm going to click on fonts, and I want it to be minimal SF. That's what I've been using. I'll just increase the font size to 14. For this one, I'll do the same thing. For your fonts, change it as well, minimal SF 14. Say OK, and you have that done. So you have two tabs here. As you can see, you have two tabs here. So let's go over and see what is next. You need a list view tab. Now this list view has to be dropped in the first tab, and that tab is the records tab. Okay, now the text box, you're going to also need a text box, and that will be under the appointment tab. So let's do the first one, the list view. So you go to toolbox and you search for list view. You click and drag here. Remember, I've selected records already. I've selected records before doing this, so I will just click and drag this so that it matches with the size of the tab control page. So I've clicked and dragged, made this just a little bit bigger than the list views on it. So you've got two things here. You've got the tab control, which is in the background. You can see when you move it around, it goes together. Well, the one way to confirm that you dropped it correctly is to do this, so that it moves alongside the tab control, the list view. Okay, so now that you've put the list view down, we haven't configured the item in the list view. We're going to edit the items in the list view. Remember, what the list view is supposed to be is to accept the values here. So for the vet practice, you want a confirmation. We want somewhere that when you put in the records for the appointment, it goes on a record sheet so that they know, okay, this is the appointment we have. Is like a confirmation for the practice itself. For the appointment page, this tab here, remember you've got two tabs. This is records, the one that has a list view. This one should have a text box there. This one should be for the one to print for the customer or the person that's coming with their pet. So what you're going to do here is to insert a text box. Click and drag text box, change this to multi-line, and you simply just click and drag. Okay, so we've got a text box in there. So you notice, of course, to confirm if you put this correctly, you click on the tab control again, move it around, and as you can see, they're all included in the tab control. So on the appointment sheet, you've got a text box here, and on the records tab, you've got list view shown. If you've done that, that's fine. Next thing you'll do is when you, okay, I know that the guide is not that detailed, but what you need to do is just before we do the menu strip, because it says to add a button and name it post, insert a menu strip at the top of the page. This was mainly created because we're going to be in class and I was going to provide you that support. In the absence of that, of course, this video would suffice. So we'll just put in full name, pet name, all of these details. We need that on the list view as a table. So we'll click on, make sure you're on the records tab. You click on list view. Okay, so for your list view, the first thing you want to do is you click on this button here. You notice you have edit items, edit columns, edit groups. What you're going to be working with is edit columns, not items, not groups. You're going to be working with edit columns. But first things first is you want to choose this option here where you've got view. Change that to details, because in that so I put in something earlier that is just to test it, and that is what it will look like. So this is the view we're going to be working with. Of course, you can play around with other things. So now you go to edit columns. Now under edit columns, you can see this is where I named the text as just test. So but what you want is you want to have full name, name of pet, type of pet, and so on. So the first thing is the first column, you change the text, and I'm going to give that full name. And text align, I want it to be in the left. The width, I can change the size of the column. I can make that 100, and I also want to change the font's properties. If I can change, that's on the text. I think I have that option available in the properties pane. I will look at that just so I can reduce the size of the font. So you add the remaining columns by clicking on add. The next one says name of pet, so change the text to name of pet. And the width, I'll leave it as another 100, and you'll see that extend. Add again, and the next one on texts, you're changing column header here, so I'm clicking and dragging here to just select it, or you could just click at the end and delete it manually using your backspace button. The next one is type of pet. And I'll leave that as 80. Then add the next one is date of birth. So this is what you'll do for all of them. On the text, date of birth, I'll just copy date of, because I'm going to use that for date of appointment. I'll extend that, of course, to 100. Then add another one and select paste and just replace that with appointment, date of appointment, then add again time of appointment, and comment. Okay, date and time of appointment, I'll increase that to 100 as well. That's the width, and see how that goes. If it's not fine, I will of course increase it. So if you click on the OK button, you'll see your table has been populated. So what I want to do is check for the font option so that I can play around with the font. So you can see at the moment it's 13, size is 13. I'm going to drop it down to 9 and see what that looks like. So you can see you have name of pet, date of birth, and you've got comment. So what you could do, there are two things you could do. Of course, you could increase the size of your tab. This is the tab I clicked on. Just to increase, first of all, the form. So if you click on the tab, you will notice this. Make sure that you're on the records tab. Okay. Now you will notice this particular icon come up, the cross icon. Then of course you can resize the external bit, which is your tab control, and when you click inside, you have your list view. You can simply click and drag just to make it bigger. So I'll go back in, I'll just make that bigger. Yeah, I think that's fine. And I'll click on the tab control, move it around just to be sure it's still in there, and I'll adjust on the left as well. Okay, so I'll click on that, go back to edit columns, and I just want to look at some of the properties for the table. So we've got comments, and that's where it ends. I want to increase this. Let's increase it to 90 because it's just that. So let's see which ones. So comments is big enough. The rest, yeah. So we can just leave that because we can tell what that is already. What can happen is, of course, you just verify everything. So let's see if this one is too much. So full name, I'll drop that to 90. So pet, name of pet, I'll drop that to 90. I'm just doing this so that I can also, you can see pet is not showing, so I'll leave it as 100. Then name of pet, type of pet, I'll leave it as 100. That's the width. Date of birth, time of appointment, so this is okay. At least I can tell what this is. Date of appointment, time of appointment. Now if you choose to change the background color of your table, that's fine. So what you'll be looking for is you can click on list view and look for back color. You could make that any color you want. So let's see if I can make it something lighter. Where did we get crimson from? I think it was on the web. I just want a light version of what we already have. So you've got crimson there. Let's see if we see custom. It doesn't give us that option. So I'll choose something like this, something light that just matches with the background. So you can leave that white if you want to. I'm just showing you that you can customize. Now your appointment booking, your appointment page, you notice when we resize the tab we didn't do that, so we'll just have to do that now. So resize that so that it fills up the page. Okay, click on it again, let's resize it to the bottom. Okay, that's fine. So we're done with this. So this is the first bit that we've completed. I want to make this such a way that It's just good. It ends with that. So the last thing for our interface before we go into coding is, of course, our menu options. So if you go to your instruction, your guide, you'll find where it says add a button and a name it post. Sorry, we've done this already. Insert a menu strip at the top of the page. Name 3 menu items. Edit, print, save as. So we'll go and look for, of course, menu strip item. If you check here, you can see we've got menu strip here. So menu strip, you go to toolbox and you search menu strip. Just click and drag and drop it at the top. So here you'll see it has menu items. So first menu item, you can type edit, and you click here, it should give you a second one. So automatically it's creating, so when you edit this, should tell you, should change. I'm just adding, okay, this, I created a sub menu item here accidentally. So what you want to do is, of course, if any of this is getting confusing and maybe you've made a mistake, you can simply come to the bottom. You see the bottom there, you just delete it and you insert a fresh one again. So you've got menu strip here. So just click, we'll drop it here, and I'll just type directly there and just say edit. Go to the next one. We said, is it save as? We have print and save as. So on this one, you have print, and the next one, you just type save as. So what I'm simply doing is just clicking. If I want to add an item, I just click here. If you want to put a sub menu item under save as, you click here. So don't click. The first mistake I made when I started was I clicked here instead of the one on the side, which is this. So when you're done, you just click outside of it, you have your menu done. So that's your interface done. Make sure you save your work. The next steps we'll be looking at is, of course, designing, including our code. So if you've done this, you're halfway through your design. So we'll pause here. We'll pause here and have another video for the coding bit.